Management from the Institute for Security Studies. Stephanie, a very good afternoon to you. Can you hear us this time around?
Yes, good afternoon. I can hear you.
A very good afternoon. Now, Stephanie, a low voter turnout has been reported amid the withdrawal of the biggest opposition. Do you think this will translate into a protest at Paul?
Well, absolutely. I think that, we've known for some time now that some of the key opposition parties are not going to be taking part in this. We've seen yesterday two former presidents and another opposition leader pulling out. We've had countries like the United States saying that the elections are already lacking credibility. And I think that, absolutely this is going to be a contested outcome and a contested election.
Stephanie, what do you make of this rising tension in parts of the country?
Well, we certainly, in the last 2 months have seen an increase in security crackdowns, we've seen an increase in police force attacks on protesters, and there is a very widespread climate of fear in Burundi now. We've seen 167,000 people choose to leave Burundi over the last 3 months, and I think that is a good measure of just how afraid people are of what might happen in Burundi as a result of the protests around the third-term bid of President Nkurunziza.
Look, if Nkurunziza wins, do you see him forming a government of national unity to heal the country, Stephanie, or it will be a case of the winner takes all and the people suffer? Let's look at how many Burundians have fled since the bid for a third term.
Yes, I think that's a very good question, and certainly the East African community is hoping that Nkurunziza, under the mediation of Yoweri Museveni, will form a government of national unity. Now, there are some opposition parties which it would seem are holding out, in fact, to be asked to come into government and who may be appeased by just such an offer. But it's not going to bring back full-scale stability to a country where so much has happened in the last 3 months.
Look, the threat by General Leonard Ngeda of an armed uprising, do you think it's real or will result in a militarized regime for control purposes, Stephanie?
Well, it could go either way. I think that certainly it's risky of the general to have made this threat. This is one of the generals who supported the failed coup attempt on May 13th. It's really unclear whether he and those who do support him really have the kinds of resources to launch a return to full-scale war in Burundi. That's something that we'll still have to see in the very near future. But at this stage, already a very unstable situation. We also have the militia loyal to the ruling party, which is widespread in the rural areas of the country, which represents a real threat. And then, of course, there's always the looming possibility that the ethnic dimension will start to also become an issue.
Stephanie, please clarify this for us. During the parliamentary elections, the AU said that they were not sending an observer mission, but for the presidential polls, they seem to have changed their stance. Why do you think that is? And are they compelled to send missions in this tumultuous situation?
Well, I think the AU's policy on Burundi has been confused for some time now. We saw initially very strong words from Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma urging Nkurunziza not to go for a third term. We saw a climb down after the May 13th coup attempt. I think confusion caused there by the fact that the coup attempt was unconstitutional, and the change of power in that way can also not be sanctioned by the African Union. We've now seen them say about this presidential poll that they're sending a small team of observers. It is really quite token. Usually the African Union, when it observes elections, sends teams in much earlier and a much greater number. So really a confused strategy, and certainly not enough to really show Nkurunziza that there's opposition from the African Union to the instability that his bid is causing.
Now, here's something interesting, Stephanie. President Pierre Nkurunziza's third-term bid has been widely criticized. But why is that there are no sanctions against him? And now we have Ugandan President Museveni and Rwanda's Kagame seeking more terms in office. What does this say about our African leaders, hence their silence on this matter?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's the East African community, of which Burundi is a part, and which has been the regional organization leading the attempts to resolve this crisis. There are other presidents in the East African community, notably Museveni, who has already changed the constitution to extend his stay in power. And then there's Kagame next door, who is now also on the same path with 4 million signatures of a petition asking him to stay on. Of course, we have President Kabila in the DRC, which is not a member of the EAC, stability, but still a country in the region also attempting to stay on. And I think the African Union, was something we were watching closely at the 25th summit that took place in Johannesburg last month, where this issue should have been on the agenda. There should have been a strong statement said about this third term. And the African Union does, in fact, have the means to sanction member countries if there is a manipulation of institutions or legislation in order to extend a president's stay in power. So they have the legal means to go after these kinds of situations. They just simply don't seem to have the political will at this stage to do it.
Thank you so much for that. That's Stephanie Wolters of the Institute for Security Studies, shedding some light on the political crisis in Burundi.